In the grand halls of history, where empires were built upon power, greed, and divine rule, love often found no place to exist. It was a dangerous emotion, one that could destroy dynasties, challenge faith, and ignite wars. Yet it was love that wrote some of the most unforgettable pages in the story of humankind. These are the tales of forbidden passions. Love stories that defied kingdoms, changed destinies, and left behind whispers that still echo through time. It begins thousands of years ago in the golden sands of Egypt. The sun sets over the Nile, turning the waters crimson like spilled wine. A queen dressed in gold stands at the balcony of her palace. Her name, Cleopatra. She was beauty and intellect woven together. The last pharaoh of Egypt, a woman who ruled through her charm and cunning mind. But her heart, it did not belong to Egypt alone. It was stolen by a Roman general whose name would echo for eternity, Julius Caesar. When Cleopatra met Caesar, Rome was at the height of its power. Egypt was a jewel the Romans wanted to claim. But what began as a political alliance soon became a dangerous affair. The queen and the conqueror, bound not by treaties but by desire. Together they dreamed of ruling East and West as one. Yet, in the eyes of Rome, Cleopatra was a serpent, a foreign temptress who had ensnared their greatest leader. Caesar's enemies whispered in the Senate halls that he had betrayed Rome for love. And when his blood was spilled on the marble floors, Cleopatra's heart shattered with it. But history was not done with her yet. In the shadow of Caesar's death, another Roman would rise. Mark Antony. A warrior of unmatched courage, and a man whose fate was forever sealed when he looked into the eyes of Egypt's queen. Their love burned brighter than any empire could contain. They feasted together on golden barges, surrounded by musicians and incense. Antony gave up his loyalty to Rome and followed Cleopatra into war. But the world of politics is merciless. Their passion was seen as treason. Rome declared them enemies, and the mighty Octavian marched against them. When defeat came, it was not with honor, but with sorrow. Antony, believing Cleopatra dead, fell upon his own sword, and Cleopatra, refusing to be paraded as a prisoner, chose death over humiliation. They died as they lived, in defiance of the world. Two lovers against an empire. Their story has never faded, for it is written not in ink, but in legend. Centuries later, in the misty hills of England, another forbidden love began, one that would shake the very foundation of the church and monarchy. The year was 1525. King Henry VIII ruled England with an iron fist and a hungry heart. He was married to Queen Catherine of Aragon, yet his eyes turned to a young woman of intelligence and fire, Anne Boleyn. Anne was not like the other women of court. She resisted his advances, refused his gifts, and demanded something impossible: marriage. But Henry was not a man used to hearing the word no. He wanted her, and he would risk everything to have her. To marry Anne, he defied the Pope himself, tearing England away from the Catholic Church and creating a new faith, the Church of England. All for love, but power changes hearts. Once Anne became queen, the passion that had built their kingdom began to crumble. She failed to bear a son, and the whispers of court turned against her. Henry, once madly in love, grew cold and cruel. In 1536, Anne Boleyn was accused of adultery and treason, crimes she did not commit. On a gray morning in the Tower of London, she was executed by sword. Her final words spoke not of hate, but of forgiveness. The woman for whom a king had changed religion died because of the same man's ambition. Their love didn't just change their lives. It changed the entire course of Europe. Millions would die in the wars of religion that followed. And yet when people speak of Henry and Anne, it is not politics they remember, but the tragedy of two hearts destroyed by the power they sought to control. Far to the east, in the deserts of Persia, another love was whispered through poetry and song, the tale of Layla and Majnun. Long before Romeo and Juliet, the poets of Arabia told of Cais, a young man who loved Layla beyond reason. His passion consumed him until he lost his sanity. They called him Majnun, the madman. Their love was pure but forbidden by tribe and tradition. Layla was married to another, and Majnun wandered the wilderness, reciting verses of her name to the wind. Their story was not of flesh, but of soul. It spoke of a love so deep it became divine. Layla died of heartbreak, and when Majnun found her grave, he lay beside it and never rose again. For centuries, lovers in the East spoke their names as symbols of eternal devotion, proof that love can exist even beyond death. From the deserts of Persia, our story moves to the courts of France, to the time of the 100 Years' War. There lived a young girl named Joan, who became the savior of her people. But even in her story of faith and fire, love was forbidden. She swore her life to God, yet her heart belonged to the land she fought for. Though not a tale of romantic love, hers was a devotion that transcended mortal bonds, a love for something greater, something divine. But not all forbidden loves were noble. Some were born of deceit, passion, and sin. In the Renaissance, in the small Italian city of Ferrara, lived Lucrezia Borgia, daughter of Pope Alexander VI. Her beauty was unmatched, but so were the rumors surrounding her. It was said that her family used marriage as a weapon, and Lucrezia herself became a pawn in the deadly games of power. Her love affairs, real or imagined, were deemed scandalous by the church. Yet behind the mask of seduction was a woman trapped between politics and desire, longing for freedom in a world ruled by men. And then there was one story, whispered behind closed doors, that crossed all boundaries of class, faith, and morality. In Mughal, India, Emperor Shah Jahan met a woman who would change his soul forever, Mumtaz Mahal. She was his wife, his confidant, his queen. Their love was not forbidden by law, but by fate itself. When Mumtaz died during childbirth, Shah Jahan's world turned to ashes. He built for her a tomb of white marble, the Taj Mahal, a monument to love eternal. Even in death she became immortal, and their love became a legend carved into stone. But what the world remembers as beauty was born from grief. Shah Jahan spent his final years imprisoned, gazing at the reflection of the Taj Mahal from across the river. The last echo of a love that once ruled an empire. Across the oceans, in the New World, love, too, defied the laws of race and power. In the early 1600s, the Englishman John Smith met the native princess Pocahontas. Their friendship blossomed into affection, a connection between two worlds at war. Though their story has been softened by legend, the truth is far more tragic. Pocahontas was taken to England, baptized as Rebecca, and died far from her homeland. Her story became a symbol of how love, though pure, could not survive the cruelty of conquest. In every age, love that crossed boundaries was seen as dangerous. Whether it was class, religion, or bloodline, those who dared to love freely paid the highest price. Yet their stories survived not because they were perfect, but because they were human. In the 19th century, one more tale would captivate the world: the forbidden love of Prince Edward and Wallis Simpson. He was heir to the British throne. She was a divorced American woman. Their relationship scandalized the monarchy. When forced to choose between crown and love, Edward made history. He abdicated the throne, saying, "I have found it impossible to carry the heavy burden of kingship without the help and support of the woman I love." The world watched as he gave up everything for her. No crown, no empire, just love. It was a decision that changed the royal family forever. They lived the rest of their lives in exile. Two people united by a choice few would ever make. As centuries turned, one truth remained. Forbidden love has shaped the course of human history more than any war or empire. Because love, when denied, becomes rebellion. When hidden, it becomes poetry. And when remembered, it becomes legend. From Cleopatra's golden throne to the cold halls of Buckingham Palace, the heartbeat of love has echoed across time. Fragile, reckless, defiant. It reminds us that no matter the era, no matter the power, the human heart remains untamed. And so, history remembers not only the kings who conquered lands, but the lovers who conquered hearts and paid the price for it. For in every forbidden love, there lies a reflection of our deepest desire, to love without fear, even when the world forbids it. In the quiet corners of history, Love often bloomed in shadows, hidden behind silk curtains, whispered through forbidden letters, or sung in secret by poets who dared not speak their names aloud. What survives are fragments, rumors, and echoes, yet they tell us everything about what it means to be human. In the ancient court of Japan, where cherry blossoms fell like snow, there lived a poet and a noblewoman whose love would survive only in ink. He was Ariwara no Narihira, a man of noble birth but reckless heart. She was Princess Nijo, a woman bound by imperial blood, forbidden to love anyone outside her rank. Their world was one of silence, where emotions were dangerous and passion was shameful. They met in stolen moments, the rustle of her silk robe, the glow of a paper lantern, the scent of plum blossoms in spring. Their affair, brief yet unforgettable, inspired the poems that became the Tales of Issei, one of Japan's most treasured literary works. In his verses, he wrote of longing so delicate it felt like breathing, of a love that could not live, yet refused to die. When their secret was discovered, Narihira was banished. The princess was locked within palace walls, her name erased from records. But her spirit lived on in poetry. Her sorrow turned into beauty, her silence into immortality. Their story reminds us that sometimes love does not need to last to become eternal. Across the Silk Road, where caravans carried spices and secrets, another story unfolded, one written in the stars. It was the tale of a young scholar named Jafar and a princess of Samarkand. He was a servant of knowledge. She was a daughter of kings. Their meeting was accidental, but destiny seldom asks permission. Each night, Jafar would write poems for her, verses hidden beneath her window, sealed with wax. The princess, moved by his words, would leave him replies written in rose water on silk. Their secret continued for months, until the Sultan discovered it. Jafar was condemned to die for daring to love royalty. His last poem, written before execution, said only, "They can end my breath, but not the fragrance of her name." The princess never married. Legend says she spent her nights gazing at the stars, believing his soul had become one of them, shining, watching her forever. Far in the north, in the frozen kingdoms of Scandinavia, love was as fierce as the winds. The Vikings, known for their raids and bloodshed, also told stories of passion and devotion. Among them was the legend of Brynhild and Sigurd. Brynhild was a warrior maiden, chosen by the gods to live in fire until a true hero awakened her. Sigurd, brave and noble, rode through the flames and won her heart. But fate, cruel and unrelenting, had other plans. Sigurd was tricked into marrying another woman, and Brynhild's heart turned from love to rage. Her story ended in fire once more, but this time it was her own funeral pyre. She chose death beside Sigurd, for even in betrayal she could not bear a world without him. Their love, both sacred and doomed, became the inspiration for centuries of Norse sagas, operas, and songs, proof that love and tragedy are twin flames in human history. In medieval France, under the candlelight of abbeys and cloisters, another forbidden love defied the sacred vows of religion. Peter Abelard, a philosopher of unmatched intellect, met Eloise, a student of language and reason. What began as lessons turned into affection, and then into an all-consuming love. But theirs was a sin in the eyes of the church. When their affair was discovered, the punishment was merciless. Abelard was mutilated. Heloise was forced into a convent. Yet, even behind stone walls, they continued to write to one another, letters that would later be read by generations as some of the most beautiful love writings ever penned. In one of them, Heloise wrote, "We were united in heart before the altar bound us. We are still united in heart, though the altar has separated us." Their letters were not just words. They were pieces of their souls. In them lived sorrow, forgiveness, and eternal connection. They never met again, but when they died, their remains were buried side by side, together at last, beyond the reach of judgment. And then, there is a tale that belongs to India, one sung in temples and whispered in festivals for thousands of years. The story of Radha and Krishna, a love divine yet forbidden by fate. Krishna, the god of love and joy, was destined to leave his village, while Radha was bound to the mortal world. Their love was pure but never fulfilled, a bond beyond physical union. When Krishna played his flute, Radha's heart danced. Yet when he left, she did not follow. Their separation became a symbol of spiritual devotion, a reminder that true love does not demand possession, only remembrance. Even today, their names are spoken together, not as husband and wife, but as eternal lovers whose bond transcended time. The Middle Ages gave birth to many tales of chivalry and forbidden affection, knights who served queens not through duty, but through love. Among them was the story of Lancelot and Queen Guinevere, wife of King Arthur. Their affair shattered the unity of Camelot, leading to its fall. Yet even in betrayal, their love was portrayed as sacred, something too human to condemn completely. Guinevere's tears at Lancelot's departure became the symbol of a heart torn between loyalty and love. Their tragedy was not of villains or heroes, but of people who felt too deeply in a world ruled by rules. In the Ottoman Empire, behind the gilded gates of Topkapi Palace, love too found a way to challenge tradition. Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent, ruler of one of the greatest empires, fell in love with a slave girl named Hurrem, known in the West as Roxolana. She was brought from Ukraine as a captive, but through her wit, intelligence, and charm, she became the Sultan's most trusted companion. Suleiman broke centuries of royal custom by marrying her, something no sultan before him had ever done. Together, they ruled side by side, but their union sparked political chaos. Hurrem was called a witch, a manipulator, even a traitor. Yet Suleiman loved her until his last breath. Their letters still exist, filled with tenderness. In one, he called her the joy of my heart, the light of my eyes. Their love changed the empire forever, shifting the balance of power and redefining what it meant to be a queen. From the east to the west, from temples to palaces, one truth endures. Forbidden love has always been humanity's mirror. It shows us what we desire most and what we fear to lose. In 18th century France, a new kind of love scandalized the aristocracy. Queen Marie Antoinette, young, radiant, and trapped in a loveless political marriage, was rumored to have fallen for Count Axel von Fersen, a Swedish nobleman. Their letters, sealed in code, spoke of passion and despair. When the French Revolution began, Fersen risked his life to save her from the guillotine. He failed, and she died still wearing the pearls he had given her. Their secret correspondence was discovered centuries later. The ink faded, but the emotion still burning. As the world modernized, love still found ways to defy society. In 1920s India, the poet Mirza John and the British woman Eleanor shared a forbidden romance during colonial rule. Their relationship was not just scandalous, it was illegal. Yet their poems, hidden in archives, reveal an intimacy that defied empire. In one, he wrote, "The chains of your world cannot bind what the heart has already set free." And so it is. Through every age and empire, love remained the quiet rebellion. Kings may have conquered nations, priests may have burned heretics, but no one could destroy the language of the heart. History teaches us that every forbidden love, no matter how tragic, changes the world in small, invisible ways. It questions the rules. It softens hearts. It leaves stories that outlive monuments. The world remembers Cleopatra and Antony not as rulers, but as lovers. Anne Boleyn not as a queen, but as a woman who made a king rewrite faith itself. Shah Jahan not as an emperor, but as a husband who built a tomb for love. Love is fragile. Empires are not. Yet time shows us which one truly lasts. In the end, every forbidden love, whether born in palace corridors, desert sands, or humble villages, carries the same echo. The courage to love when the world says you cannot. As the final scenes of history fade into dusk, we are left with a truth both simple and eternal, that love, even when denied, even when punished, is never wasted. It moves through generations like wind through the trees, unseen but alive. It teaches kings to kneel, warriors to weep, and poets to speak when words are forbidden. And so, across centuries, The heart keeps whispering its quiet rebellion that no empire, no law, no sword can ever truly conquer love.